Welcome to another episode of Waves of Wisdom. Today, here with me is a very special person, all the way from South Africa, joining me, and I'm recording this while all the way from Maldives. She is Verity Price, the 2021 World Champion of Public Speaking, and she's a coach who is helping others to present with power. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Miss Verity Price. Hello, Verity. How are you doing?
Be with you. I am good, thanks.
Yeah. So welcome to my podcast.
It's good to be here. I wish I was in the Maldives, but I'll do it on Zoom.
One day, hopefully. So, Verity, now this just to start with our podcast, can you tell a little bit about how your career started and what were your interests at the early stages of your life? You know, we all had different interests, and then over time we keep on pivoting, right?
Absolutely. And mine was a lot of pivots because by the time I finished school, I was terrified of speaking in public. I had been bullied at school. So if I ever had to read in the school assembly, I would pretend to be sick. So I was terrified of speaking in public, and I decided to study psychology. I was very interested in understanding what makes us tick. And so I thought I was going to become a psychologist. That's what I was trying to do. But in my first year of university, on my birthday, out of nowhere, I felt inspired to pick up a pen and start writing. And when I finished, what I had written were lyrics, song lyrics. There was a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus. And I thought, where did these come from? And they kept coming. And with them came a dream. Maybe I should be a singer, which was difficult because I was terrified of being on stage. Yeah. And so I got stuck where I think a lot of people get stuck, which was between the dream and the fear. And I just got stuck there for years. And I wanted to sing, I wanted to share my words with people, but I was too afraid of being judged or failing or being foolish. And it actually took my father passing away when I was 24 to wake me up to the fact that life is short. And here I am wasting it, not trying, not giving it my best shot. And it was at that age that I started pursuing a career in singing, which I loved. I loved being on stage. I worked with a coach to build my confidence. But by 30, my career really wasn't going anywhere. And I realized I had to record an album. That was the next stage. And I didn't have the money to record the album. So I did some brainstorming with my sister, and I came up with an idea in 2005 to ask people to buy an album I hadn't recorded. So I was asking people to buy something that didn't exist. Mm-hmm. That now is called crowdfunding, but in 2005, that idea was called crazy. But amazingly, over 2,000 people in 25 countries bought that album. And when I released it in 2007, instead of it going onto the radio and climbing the charts, no one was really interested in my music. Everyone was interested in my story. And I suddenly found myself thrown into the world of speaking on innovation and strategy and how to change your attitude. And I fell into speaking completely by accident. So that's the early phase. Wanted to be a psychologist, started songwriting, wanted to be a singer, crowdfunded an album, became a speaker.
Wonderful. Yeah. So, and then you joined Toastmasters, right? And
yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear that story?
I myself is a Toastmaster as well. So I think that is when we first got introduced, is when you won the World Champion of Public Speaking in 2021. And that was during the pandemic itself. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into winning the World Championship?
So I joined Toastmasters in 2011, and I was already a professional speaker. So I joined for fun and also because I knew I could keep learning. I entered my first contest in 2012. And because I was a professional speaker, I don't know if it's a good reason to say but perhaps because I was a professional speaker, I thought it would be easy to win a contest. So I didn't work that hard on my speech. But my sister, Kay, who'd also was a member of Toastmasters, was working really hard on her speech, and she beat me at the club level.
Oh.
And I had to then watch her go through the levels and go all the way to the world semifinals in 2012. And she came second at the world semifinals, and the man who beat her, Ryan Avery, became the world champion two days later. Watching that journey was inspiring. It was also intimidating. I saw how hard it was to actually do well in a contest. So I only entered again in 2015. And there I got to I think I came third in division. So the third level of the contest, I came third. And at that point, I said, that's it. Contests aren't for me. I'm not going to compete. And I never competed again. And in fact, I left Toastmasters in 2019 to become a mom. And I thought that my journey with Toastmasters had finished. But when lockdown hit in 2020, I rejoined for community, for online community during lockdown. And it was during that time that something in me said, you need to compete again. You need to compete properly. And I made the decision to compete in 2021. I had a bizarre premonition that I was going to win, which didn't make any sense because no one from Africa had ever won, and women hardly ever won. But I worked harder than I've worked on anything in my life for 7 months. I was working 3 to 4 hours a day on my speeches, and I went through the levels. And in August, I was lucky enough to be crowned world champion.
But I guess it's a very honorable position to have, and then forever you are a world champion once you have it, right?
Yeah.
After that, you have been training people and doing some work in the area of, and recently in your posts on LinkedIn, I have seen that you have actually trained some people to compete in the World Championship as well. How did that journey go?
Yes. Oh, that has been probably the best thing about winning the world championships. And I had no idea that would be part of it. But within a few weeks of winning, someone reached out and said, I loved your video. I really like your style. Will you coach me? And I thought, oh, wow. I didn't even know this was a thing. And for the last coming up for 4 contest seasons, I've had the privilege of supporting speakers to see how far they can go in the contest, to do the best possible speeches they can. And over the last 3 contest seasons, I've had 15 of my clients make the world semifinals, the top 28, and 4 of them have made the finals. And I've had 3 people place third in the world each year. So it's been a real privilege and pleasure.
So, and also you are coaching other people to, as in the introduction, I told other people to present with power. What do you mean by presenting with power?
Well, when you are presenting, you want it to be powerful. You want it to have impact. You want people to remember what you've said. And I think a lot of people present with very little energy because they're nervous, or they have too much content, or their slides are messy. And then they walk away and go, that's not the presentation I was hoping to do. So my job is to help people understand the theory, the techniques behind giving powerful, impactful presentations, and to make sure that every time someone stands up to present or sits at their laptop to present, they go, that is the speech I wanted to give. So it's a beautiful journey to go on with mainly corporate clients, big organizations, improving the way their staff communicate internally and to customers.
This is wonderful. Uh, can you dive it into a little bit into how actually, what are the elements of a powerful speech, for example, for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's many ways we can look at what is a powerful speech. I'm going to give you two things to think about.
Yeah.
The first is something I realized after I won the World Championships, and that was that a speech or a presentation is ultimately a gift that you are giving to your audience. If they don't take home what you've said, if they don't act on what you've said, then why did you give that presentation? But I want you to think about this. The word presentation or presenting, it has the word present in it. It's
Yes.
right there telling us it's a gift. It's a gift for them. It's not for you. And so when you start thinking about your communication in how will this be a gift for my audience? How will it serve them? It changes the way you write. So the 4 steps to writing a winning presentation is all you have to do is remember the word gift. So step 1, get clear on your message. What is it that you're wanting to say? Because the message is what the audience takes home. So 10 words or less, what is the message you want them to take action on or to be moved by when you finish speaking? The eye of the gift is intentionally craft your content and your story to reveal the message. So there's master classes on how you intentionally craft content, but it's just to understand that it needs to be intentional. You can't just throw info down and think it's going to be valuable to the audience.
Right.
The F of gift is to fill in the gaps for your audience. Remember, the speech is for them. So do I need to explain words I'm using or jargon or terms, or do I need to add in a bit more detail so it fills in the blanks for them? And so that's a really important step. And sometimes the only way to know if there's a gap in your speech is to ask someone else to listen to it and tell you if they needed more or less from you, and then change your speech. And the 4th step, the T of gift, is you want to tie it all together. So the end of your speech needs to tie together all the things you've spoken about in your presentation. You don't need to say in summary or in conclusion. You don't need to say that, but you'll go, as you've heard today, we've seen this, we've explored that, we've looked at how important it is to, and you start wrapping up what you've said, because your conclusion should feel like a bow. That last word you said, which should have your message in it, should feel like, and now you hand it to the audience. So that's the one way that I think if you start thinking about your presentations as a gift to your audience, it changes the way you approach them.
This is really interesting analogy, and I think this is for the first time I'm actually hearing this. I'm also into speaking, but I think this is a model which you have created yourself, and thank you very much for sharing with our audience. And
Pleasure.
the other aspect which we talked on, which I talk to all my guests, is, for example, about their passion. So, at this moment in your life, what are you passionate about?
Passionate about helping people present with power.
Okay.
That is my absolute passion. It's my absolute purpose. When I see people come into a program nervous, shaking voices, not trusting that their own stories are valuable, and then I see that just with a few little sessions, they can suddenly reach inside of themselves, speak with conviction, with their own passion and purpose, then my life's work is done. So I love helping people become better at communicating and to share their voice and their stories into the world.
You rightly mentioned about it's all about sharing the story, right? Their story to the world, and how important is story?
Story is everything.
Yes.
Yeah, story is everything. And I see it more and more. Story is how we create neural connections with our audience. Their part of the brain, the same parts of their brain will light up as the story we're telling if they can see themselves in that situation. And story is just the most incredible vehicle to get a message into an audience's heart. Because if they're listening to the story and they're taking it in, when you get to the punchline or to the moral of the story, they're already with you. So I think we cannot ever underestimate the power of story, and we can use it to communicate anything. Is there a story the numbers are telling you in your business? And when you tell your staff about what's happening with the financial performance, what's the story? Is this similar to something? Can we paint a picture in their mind so that they'll understand the data? So yeah, you can see I get excited about story, but I think we should never underestimate how powerful story is at communicating our ideas more effectively.
Correct. And I have watched a number of your speeches, and I also really was touched by the story you told in your winning championship speech in 2021. How did you come up with that story? What were the things you were thinking, or how you structured? What was the thinking process behind selecting a story for the speech, and why did you select this story, and what you ensured the audience will hear in the story?
Speech contest, what's quite interesting is you compete with one speech from the club level to the world semifinals. And the speech I was competing with was about my mother and a lesson she had taught me to leave the world better than you find it. When I won the Southern African finals and I was waiting to hear if I made the semifinals, I started thinking, well, if I do make the semifinals, what would my second speech be? And it got easy at that point. I thought, you know what? I'm not getting to heaven one day and having to explain to my father that I wrote about mom for 7 months, but I didn't write a speech about him. So it helped me to know I wanted to write a speech about my dad. And I wrote 4 different speeches. I started looking for stories about my father, lessons he taught me, but none of them were sticking. And then I'll never forget, because it was 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I woke up remembering the letter my dad had written me and how my life had changed. I got out of bed, I wrote the speech at 3 o'clock in the morning. I finished at 4 o'clock. I read what I'd written, and every part of my body knew that this was the start of a world championship speech. And then I wrote 32 versions and changed it 100 times. But I knew then that it was the speech that could potentially do well in a contest.
So basically, it was like a all-in for you, right? To give that message. Maybe this is your father's wish as well,
So
right?
I hope I did him proud.
So what is this letter that your father has written to you was about? What can you tell to our audience a little bit of this story?
So I said when my dad died when I was 24, and at that point I'd been songwriting for 4 years. I was too afraid to pursue my dream, and I was living in London, and my dad used to send me letters trying to encourage me to trust myself and to follow my dreams. And this was the last of those letters that he ever wrote to me before he died. And in it, he was sharing stories of family members who had turned their lives around and followed their passion. And right at the end of it, the way he signed it was, Verity, your life is a book. And if you're not enjoying the read, pick up your pen and write a different story. And watch for a miracle, because I'm watching too. I found that letter when I was 40. I found it again when I was 40, and my life did not look the way I wanted it to look. And those words helped me to start writing a different story about my life and completely turn my life around.
A wonderful story, isn't it? And yeah, and that has led to you to be the world champion. And when your father wrote that letter, I'm sure that must have been his intention for his daughter to have the, uh, highest accolades of the world, right? So I'm sure your father must be very proud of you. So what about your singing career? Are you still passionate about that, or you have totally kept it aside and totally pivoted into speaking?
I stopped singing professionally in 2011, and I didn't even realize. I suddenly looked back and said, oh, I haven't performed for 6 months. So I didn't stop on purpose, but I just naturally stopped. I still sing when I do big conferences. I'll do one song. I love singing for an audience, but it's not what I want to do with my career. I know that I found singing led me to where I needed to be. It wasn't about singing. Yeah,
So you're just bringing some variety into your speaking by singing as well. What is your most
absolutely.
commonly sang song on your speeches?
I actually always sing, I only sing one song in all my speeches, and it's a song called Crazy Not to Try. And it's
Okay.
about having the courage to step into the unknown, to pursue your dreams. And the concept is, imagine if the Wright brothers hadn't believed they could fly.
Mhm.
You know, it's only because they believed in a crazy dream. It would have been crazy not to see if man could fly. What could all of us do if we believed in ourselves like that? So that's the song I sing. I haven't, it's not even on my album that I released.
All right.
It's the
So
last song I
it's a
ever wrote.
solo.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. Can you share a little bit of that song with our audience? I'm sure everybody
No,
must be.
I'm not going to sing over Zoom. I'll have to send you the song, and you can put it somewhere for everyone.
Sure, sure, sure. I'll do that. uh, so, Verity, as we were speaking before the podcast, one of the things actually I'm actually very passionate about with all my guests, why I'm interviewing, is because um, I'm very passionate about this concept called, which I came up with, called unretirable. So when I see somebody and their career, and when I observe them for some time, like I have been doing, I have been following on your social media and watching your speeches from 2021 for last 4 years, and what I realized was you have achieved what I called, or you have become what I called unretirable. So, what do you think about retirement? Do you believe in
Word.
retirement?
Unretirable. No, I mean, I can't see myself stopping anytime soon. I think all that I think is that as you get older, you might want to change the balance a little bit, but I don't ever want to stop serving my purpose. And I think I'm very blessed that the space that I play in, particularly as a coach, there's no expiry date on coaching. In fact, with life experience, you have more to offer. So I totally feel unretirable. I love that.
Yes, wonderful. Then uh, that's why you are one of the perfect guests for my podcast, and also to write about your story a little bit in my book as well, hopefully. And so, what will be your message, or what did you went through the phase of your change of becoming, finding this purpose and deciding, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life? When did you realize that, and how that process evolved?
Wasn't a it wasn't a gracious process because I really wanted to be a pop star. And it was very hard for me when I had crowdfunded an album and I'd been doing everything I could, and the music just wasn't taking off. And I was being invited to speak, and I'd go, well, can I bring my band? And they'd say, no, just come talk to us about innovation. And I thought, what is going on here? And so I was angry at life. Even though I was being given a new career, I hadn't asked for it. And I was like, I'm trying to be a pop star. Why is everyone asking me to speak? And I was being asked to facilitate and to teach. And I was like, this is not what I'm trying to do. And I can't tell you the exact moment, but it might have been 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. I one day had a realization, and I think it happened on stage. I was sharing my story, and I was talking about the fact that it had been hard, that the dream of singing hadn't happened. And I said, what I've realized is that sometimes your ego has one idea of what your life should look like, and your soul has another.
Mm.
And when I've started listening to my soul, my life got easier. So I live in a world now where this is a very competitive industry. It's tough to do this work, I know, for a lot of people, but this is my soul journey, and word of mouth, work comes in, opportunities open. That it never felt like that in the music industry. My ego was pushing it, giving it everything, and it wasn't happening. When I stepped into my soul's purpose, I work hard, but it feels effortless. But it took me a while to go, listen to your soul.
So basically, when you work now, you don't feel like you're working, as opposed to when you were singing, you were forcing yourself because of the, like you said, the ego you have, or the the mindset to prove others that you are best, right? I think
Yeah.
it's a nice way of telling it. So, and I have been, I saw you that you are traveling around the world and giving speeches in different countries. Do you enjoy that, or is it very taxing?
It is tiring. The traveling is tiring, but the absolute privilege to meet people from cultures that I might never go and visit or spend time with is extraordinary. So that's the best part of winning the world championship, is that it gets you literally meet the world. And
Yes.
I have spent time with people and who've shown me their beautiful cities and countries. It's an absolute privilege. I get so much energy from it, but I sleep a lot when I get home.
Of course, you need to catch up for the jet lag, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, for people at, one of the messages, Bertie, I'm trying to send across through my this podcast series is actually, for people, a lot of people try to find their purpose or what needs to be done. Especially people, you are a bit different because you are not from the corporate career ladder as such. But especially people who are pursuing a corporate career ladder, they tend to think about it. Even for me personally, I started thinking about my purpose, and like you, even one of the things which resonated with your story and myself is, for me also to realize it, it took my father becoming ill and having a stroke and ultimately passing away, and my mom suddenly passing away, and all these incidences actually made me also think back, and take a moment and think about my own life and question whether I am doing what I am supposed to do in my life, or is this something which I can carry on my life. And so, but at that time, I would say I would be in the middle of my career. So, but I'm trying to tell people, actually, you don't need to wait until an incident like this, or until you are retirement age, and when you don't have any choice because of the legal structures, you have to retire at 65 or whatever age. You don't have to wait until the later years of your career to actually pursue your passion. And so, what is your life experience? What will be your message, uh, or how I would say, what will you advise for somebody who is, or a younger version of yourself, say in early 20s, or, uh, from the wisdom you have collected up to now, what will be the advice you give actually to a younger person about pursuing their career and passion?
Was speaking, it made me think of a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron that I was actually doing when my father died. I was doing it in London. And it's the most beautiful book to help you uncover what it is that you want to do with your life. And when they talk about being an artist, it's that space where you feel you're most creative. It's not about being creative, but what fires you up, what are you passionate about? And there were some lovely exercises in that book that were incredibly insightful. And for anyone who's going, what is my passion? What I want to do? She had things like, look back at all the things you said you wanted to do when you were a child, write the list. And then if you wanted to be a cowboy, let's say, you go, well, actually, I'm going to go for horse riding lessons on Saturday, just for fun. And then look at something else and go and do that just for fun. It doesn't need to become your career. It doesn't need to change your life, but it's finding the things that make you smile and looking at what you value and what you get energy from. That helps you to better discern what you pick next in your life. So that would be there's kind of two bits of advice. Go and check out The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Beautiful. I think it's a 6-week journey that you can do for your own introspection. Really powerful. But also start leaning into what fills me up when I do it. How do I want to feel in my life? Because that helps you to choose things that feel in alignment with that.
I think that's a great suggestion. Even I haven't come across that book yet, so definitely going to grab a copy and read it through. Thanks for suggesting that. So, how did you envision your future, or do you have any upcoming milestones which you have set for yourself?
So I've got an exciting milestone that I'm releasing my first ever online course that people can do, which is specifically for Toastmasters contest. So it's called Conquering Contest. And it's for people to go through 25 short modules, to have a world champion in their pocket, taking them through the mindset that makes a difference, how to find their stories, how to structure it, how to write it. So it's a very practical course that I've put together, and I'm very excited to see if I'm hoping it'll add a lot of value to the people who use it. So that's the one thing. And the other thing that's still on the back burner is the second book that I'm writing, but I'm also allowing it to happen when I have inspiration and time. So I'm not putting pressure on it. I'm just allowing it to unfold.
Basically, flourish like a flower, right? Let
I
it
like
blossom,
that.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yes.
Yeah, since you mentioned about your book, this is one thing I wanted to ask you as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and what was it about? Yeah.
So the book that I have written and published is called Present with Power, and it is a step-by-step guide to writing and delivering winning presentations. So it really is, I've tried to write it like you're sitting across the table from me and I'm talking to you. And each chapter is very practical. There's a chapter on structure, a chapter on message, a chapter on body language. And at the end of each chapter, there's checklists and templates to help people apply what they've learned to their next presentation. So I love giving people something practical that they can actually go and do something with, because presenting is a learn by doing skill. And I wanted it to be a book that if you've got an upcoming presentation, tick, 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 go deliver and see how you're improving.
Yeah. If somebody want to get this book, from where they can get it?
So at the moment, internationally, it's on my website, verityprice.com, as a PDF ebook. So I've tried to keep it so that it's easily accessible. A lot of people buy it and they print it. It's only 65 pages. So it's a short book, but it's really useful manual, a guide. And then when I'm at actual events, I take the hard copy, but postage from South Africa, you'll wait too long. I think buy the ebook.
Yes. I think, yeah, that is easier and much convenient. And since you are also in this two spectrums, and I also have been in Toastmaster, and even now I am a sponsor of one of the Toastmasters clubs in Maldives. At the same time, I am the current president of Maldives Professional Speakers Association, and this is a question I get all the time. What is the difference between Toastmasters and a professional speaker?
Professional speaker can belong to Toastmasters, but not any Toastmaster can be a professional speaker. Okay. So I think it's, for me, and this is my personal take, becoming a professional speaker is a choice. It doesn't mean that choice is going to make you the best paid professional speaker in the world, but anyone can choose to go, I want to make money from speaking. The making money from speaking is the next hurdle, but you first have to choose to believe that your subject matter that you're an expert of is something that people would pay to listen to. People can build that subject matter in Toastmasters, absolutely. But the professional speaking, I really believe it's a choice, because I see so many people who've done extraordinary things in the world that could be professional speakers that have just never chosen to be. And I've seen average speakers who've done extraordinary things choose to be a speaker, and their extraordinary story makes them a well-paid speaker. So it's a funny world, professional speaking. Mm-hmm. But if you choose it, then you have to show up and do the hard work, and maybe that choice turns into a career.
A very, very good message to our community of professional speakers, I think. But we are coming to the end of, and I really love this conversation, and we have gone, you have given some valuable hints and takeaways from this conversation. And one of the last questions I ask from all my guests is related to the theme of my podcast, which is Waves of Wisdom. So over the years, what is that one wisdom which you came across, which you hang on to, or you believe which has made a real impact in your life, which you can also pass on to other people?
Many moments and many messages that have changed my life, but one that I often used to think about was, it was a powerful message and also a funny message that my dad used to tell. It's a little joke that he got from somewhere, which is, there are three types of people in the world. There are people, now I remember, there are people who, oh, now I remember, there's three types of people in the world. There are people that let things happen. There are people who make things happen, and there are people who wonder what the hell happened. And it's like, what person do you want to be? Like, be the person who makes things happen. And I think that's been what really has fueled me in my life. When things aren't going the way I want, it's because I'm letting life happen to me. And when I decide to make life happen because of me, at least I don't ever have to go, what the hell happened? At least I know I tried. So be the person who makes things happen because of you.
What a beautiful message to end with. And thank you very much, Verity, for being on the show. And I really enjoyed this conversation. And hopefully one day we will see in person. Maybe, who knows, maybe you will come into Maldives.
Oh, I would love to.
Yes. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For our
Lovely
listeners,
to chat.
Until we come back again, please don't forget to be someone who make things happen, and don't just stay there and let the world things happen to you, as it is wisdom said on wisdom statement. And until we come back, don't forget to be awesome.